Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Thanks for coming by today to watch as it is Craft IQ challenge time once again. If you are coming here from somebody else's video, welcome. And if not, make sure you check out all the ladies in the description down below who are playing along in this month's challenge. Now for today's challenge, I am using my one photo because that's one of the elements and a bunch of different papers from several different collections. So I've got something from Sweet Safari, Celebrate Today, and Party Time, as well as this Nectarine piece of cardstock. And all of these papers and products are from close to my heart. Now I have gone ahead and pulled a piece of Lagoon cardstock and gutted it out to save that middle so I can use the paper for something else. And I've trimmed down this cloud paper from the Sweet Safari collection just a little bit so that way it can be framed by the cardstock, because that is another piece of this challenge. Now I know that I want to use these other two pattern papers, but it takes me a little while to kind of figure out how to pull them in. So I'm going to turn my attention instead to this Nectarine piece of cardstock. So I do want to bring it in as my pop of orange or yellow, and I've decided to take my blade out of my cutter here and put a scoring blade in instead. And I'm just going to, at every ½ inch, score a line across this Nectarine piece of cardstock. And I do that all the way down. And eventually I cut that piece of cardstock to, I want to say maybe 10 inches, but it's not quite 12 inches going all the way across. But I'm going to score those lines every ½ inch and trim this piece of Nectarine down. And then you will see here why I decided to do that. So I am going to pull out a sanding block, and I'm just going to very lightly rub over those raised scored lines. And because Close to My Heart's cardstock has a white core, this is a really fun technique to kind of reveal that white inside of the cardstock. And so it just gives it a little bit of texture and distressing, and I really love this technique. It's a little messy, so I have to kind of dust off my orange everywhere when I'm done, but that's okay. Look at how cool that is. And so I am going to put this on here somewhere. Now I am not working off of a pattern or a sketch, which is really kind of unusual for me. I am very much a pattern girl, and you will see throughout the course of this page coming together that there are a couple of times where I really kind of get stumped as to where I'm going to put things or how I want to use my papers, because I'm really just kind of doing it on the fly and, out of my head, which is not really the way that I work best. So I do know a couple of things that I want to do. I want to make sure that I'm putting my one photo on some tissue paper, because that's been one of my favorite things to do lately. So I'm just kind of pulling that out and cutting it off. And then I think that I want to also mat my photo on this paper from Party Time, which is the sapphire paper with all of those polka dots on there. And polka dots was another thing that I had to use as part of this challenge, so I thought that that was kind of a good way to check that piece off. I'm not sure if I want to kind of put it on straight or kind of twist it cockeyed. Again, you're going to see me kind of fuss around with this creative process as I am putting this page together, and it ended up turning out really cute, and I had fun, but I have to say I am definitely a pattern girl. So you'll have to let me know in the comments below how you work best. Are you the kind of person who just kind of scrapbooks on the fly, or do you like to work from a pattern as well? So here you can see I'm just kind of, what do I do? I was really hesitant to cut that floral pattern paper from the Celebrate Today collection because it was the last piece that I had, and I just thought it was so pretty. And so I was about to cut it as like a mat to go behind my photo and kind of, double layer that, and then I thought I can't cut it. And so that's kind of where I came up with the idea of maybe I can put this whole strip somewhere on my page. And so this ultimately kind of becomes how the page looks, where I do have that floral piece going across the right hand side. See, I'm like, do I cut it? Nope, I can't cut it. I just can't do it. And I'm glad that I didn't, because I like having it all the way across. So now again, I'm just kind of fussing with the placement of things. Do I want that orange piece of cardstock to be tucked behind it? Is it going to go over the top? And really this is pretty close to how the ultimate layout ends up, being formatted. But I do pull that orange piece of cardstock out, that Nectarine out. I decided I needed a little bit more of that Lagoon color, which is in that cloud pattern paper. And so this is actually the ½ inch zip strip that I cut off of the top of that cloud paper, which is from the Sweet Safari collection from Close to My Heart. And I just kind of liked how it just sort of almost gave like a ledge, if you will, for that orange cardstock to kind of sit on. And so I decided that I liked that. And then I think I'm just going to kind of cluster some things around my photo and put it right about here. Okay, so I'm going to commit to that. So every time I decide, yep, I know what I'm going to do, I go ahead and glue something down because, like I said, otherwise I just continue to fuss and fuss. All right, I pulled out my edge distressing tool and I decided to edge distress the side of that polka dot paper just because the tissue paper kind of has like a rough sort of look, textured look. And I had, you know, the texture going on and the nectarine cardstock, and so I thought, you know what, I'm going with that theme, let's just carry it on through. And so I did edge distress that piece of pattern paper, and then I'm going to take my finger and kind of push against it in towards the photo to really kind of ruffle that up a little bit more. And then I even bend one of the corners over. The back side also has the same colors on it, just in a striped pattern. And so that bent corner, you know, it's not distracting or anything. It kind of goes. So I'm going to go, like I said, go ahead and glue things down as soon as I think I know where I want them to go. So that way I just force myself to move along in that creative process. And I'm just kind of pulling in and making sure that all that white core is showing. And so now I'm going to turn my attention to the fussy cutting part of this challenge. So fussy cutting was not such a big deal for me as far as, you know, challenge wise. I do like to do that. And so a lot of my stamp sets I buy the coordinating thin cuts for. And so I thought, well, it'd be kind of silly to have a stamp set that has thin cuts, but I have to fussy cut. So I purposefully pulled out this stamp set, which is called Mothers Are the Best. And it was a Mother's Day special from Close to My Heart this past May, and it is no longer available, but it doesn't have thin cuts. And so that's why I decided, you know what, I'm going to pull my flowers from there, and that way I have a reason to fussy cut them out. And one of the things I do like about this particular stamp set is that it has stamps that are outline stamps and then stamps that are solid stamps. So it's really easy to kind of color in your images. So I've just gone ahead and I have stamped a whole bunch of flowers and leaves, and then I'm going to just fill those in with various different colors of greens and pinks. And I'm just pulling my ink pad colors from the colors that I have going on in my pattern papers. And they're all from Close to My Heart, so that worked really well to do it that way. And so you can see here I've got my flowers and my leaves stamped and filled in, and then I will just off camera fussy cut all of those out. And then you can see here I've also pulled, there's some of those flowers I fussy cut. I also pulled some stickers off the Celebrate Today sticker sheet, and then I used my anti-static pouch just to rub across the back of them and take that stick off. And then that turns those stickers into more of like die cuts, and then I can play around with the placement of them before committing to where I'm going to stick them down. Now off camera I did also use my Simple Serif uppercase thin cuts to cut out the word Chipmunk, because that's the nickname that I call my daughter. And I cut that out of Lagoon cardstock 3 times, and then I glued all of those letters together. And I like to do that sometimes with those alphabet thin cuts just because it turns your cardstock into more of like a chipboard kind of alphabet, and it gives it a little bit more substance on the page. And so I did that. Now before I put any of my floral clusters down, I'm going to cover up my photo, and I'm going to take my Lemonade shimmer brush, and I am just going to squeeze a little bit out over in a scrap piece of paper to get it flowing, and then I'm just going to tap against my lid so that I get some of those yellow splatters. Now I'm sure I've already taken care of my pop of orange, but you could have been pop of orange or pop of yellow, but I thought, you know what, what's the harm with a little bit more yellow? So I just kind of threw in a little bit more yellow, so I have definitely checked off that part of my challenge list. And then I get a little excited about my floral clusters, and I just start gluing some of these first flowers down. And then I stop after a second and I think, you know what, maybe I should just take all of the pieces I prepared and kind of dry fit and lay them out first before I glue anything down. So you can see here I've just kind of played around a little bit. Nothing's glued down really except for those first 2 flowers. And then when I'm happy with that, I will off camera go ahead and adhere all of those to the page. Some of them are just adhered flat to the page, and then I did use some thin 3D foam tape to pop a couple of them up. One of the things I did do when taking that butterfly that's up on the top of the page is I just put some adhesive down the center of his body. And then I put some 3D foam tape behind each of his wings. And I do that every time I have a butterfly that's cut out that I'm putting on a scrapbook page or card, because it looks like the butterfly is flapping his wings. So that's one of the tricks that I like to do. So here you can see I'm just kind of continuing to fuss a little bit, and it was a good thing I did this before gluing anything down, or I probably would have, done something that I wasn't ultimately happy with. I did move that one flower so I didn't have all pink in that one middle cluster. I wanted to have some orange down there as well. All right, now that it's all adhered down, I need to check the bow off of my list. So I'm pulling in some raspberry baker's twine, which is awesome because the raspberry is that bright pink color in my pattern papers, and so it coordinates. I love that. And I'm just tying it in a bow, and then I'm going to pull in some glue dots and put 2 of those down and use those to adhere my bow to the page. And I kind of play around a little bit with where I want to put it, but I'm going to go back to my original thought and stick it next to that heart. Now, I did title this page I Heart My Chipmunk, and the I Heart My also came from that Mother's Day stamp set, and I just kind of stamped it and then cut it into that little flag. And then the Chipmunk is in a separate font from that simple serif thin cut, and so I have also done a multi-font title. And then I'm just going to cut some white daisy strips of paper and adhere them to my page, and that's going to be where I do my journaling. So this is a photo that my daughter and I took as a selfie earlier this spring. We were at my daughter's softball game, not her softball game, but my other daughter's softball game, and my son was off playing at the playground. And it was kind of one of those rare moments where it was like all of a sudden just the 2 of us were sitting there together, and usually we don't kind of have that time alone together just to sort of hang out and take selfies and be goofy together. And so it was sort of a special moment, just kind of an everyday little moment, but also something that was special to both of us as well. And we kind of cuddled up in our little bag chair and took a selfie and kind of hung out together for a little while before the game started. And so that was a lot of fun. All right, and then the last thing I'm going to do to this page is I came in with some of my stickles, and I put some stickles in the center of some of those fussy cut flowers. You can see here how that just adds a bunch of little sparkle to the center of them. And this page is done. All right, ladies, there are a whole bunch of people playing along with this Craft IQ challenge, and so make sure that you check out their links in the description below. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy crafting. I hope you guys feel inspired to take on the challenge as well.